So just after you had left there, I know that there were a couple of things that happened just before I had joined Shavlik, and that was the creation of MBSA, and shortly after that, the creation of what became HF NetCheck Pro, and that's the product that I originally came into Shavlik and was supporting. So, what was really the driving factors that led to the need for a network-wide security scanner, basically?
So when I joined Microsoft, I believe it was my third day in, my boss invited me to a meeting with Mark Shavlik, who was an external vendor, and was building a product internally for Microsoft that would help internal Microsoft employees see that their security vulnerabilities and their patches were properly updated. We built an internal tool. It was an ActiveX control that internal employees could run. But we thought, hey, why not take this and externalize it as an ActiveX control? As part of doing that, we needed to capture patch information. So Microsoft on patch Tuesday or on the patch release days, Microsoft would mail Shavlik the patches, which Shavlik would parse that, put that inside of a data file, and send a data file back to Microsoft where it would get posted inside of the ActiveX control so that it could be scanned. We realized that would not scale so well and be so quick when we released this to consumers. So we moved to an XML format for patch data. And patch data, meaning the file names, file locations, file version numbers, and checksums for English language product. When we had all of that data, we said, hey, wait a minute, rather than having an ActiveX control that works just on the local machine, why don't we convert this to be something that a network administrator or security person could run across the network? At that time, there was a tool called HF Check for hotfix checker that was used by the IIS team for Internet Information Server. And that had specific patch information just for IIS patches. And you could run that locally on your machine. So we said, let's follow in that vein. Let's do the XML file like they're doing, but let's expand this to be all the operating system patches. And let's take this HF check and insert the word net for network, HF net check, and shortened that down to an 8.3 naming convention, and said, let's be able to scan domains, IP ranges, host names. We'll resolve everything back to NetBIOS names or IP addresses and remotely scan, assuming that the remote host had TCP 139 or 445 open for the NetBIOS connection, and assuming you had admin credentials to that remote machine, and it could thoroughly interrogate that machine and return results back. That became hfnetcheck.exe, which Shavlik said, here, Microsoft, you can release this on your website, and Microsoft happily did. That was one of the most downloaded tools that I had seen in a long time. People love downloading HFNetCheck to scan for patches. That was later extended to include the security vulnerabilities, security configuration information, which became Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer. So the Baseline Security Analyzer would look for top number of configuration items that you should tackle. It was no longer an ActiveX control. It used the same network-based connections that HFNetCheck did, and it included the HFNetCheck patch scanning engine in it, so that you could scan, you could get your vulnerabilities, you could get your patch management all in one tool, if I remember correctly.
So, one of the next kind of major events that hit that fast forwarded things quite a bit for the patch management space was a couple of fairly nasty pieces of malware called Code Red and Nimda. I know you had some interesting stories about when those came out. So this suddenly went from patching being a fairly necessary thing to a holy crap, we need to get this patched really quick because these worms are taking over the world right now. So what kind of a wake up call did that send to the patch management space as it was kind of evolving at that point?
That hit Microsoft big, and we had to take some action to help customers resolve the Code Red, the NIMDA issues. So at that time in the Microsoft ecosphere, solving a problem meant shipping a CD. So we pulled together a number of people from across the company, spent a few weeks, and gathered everything we could think together on a CD, including security configuration white papers, best practices, um, an updated version of the MBSA tool, I believe a copy of HFNetCheck that was specific to the code red and NIMDA applicable patches, and boiled this down to be as simple as possible so that if a customer received this CD, uh, they could go ahead and follow the best practices, run these tools, and solve these issues. And that would put a check mark there for Microsoft. We were in these meetings, full 8-hour long day meetings, and we heard that a large customer was in their data center, and they called up one of the execs at Microsoft and said, "Hey, we're sitting in a data center now, ripping Windows off the machines and installing Red Hat." And that comment helped spur Microsoft leadership to say, "Hey, we need to take this seriously. Let's get this CD pushed out. Let's get these tools out there and get this problem addressed."
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, that, going from back in the day when you were sending things out via CDs or discs, and now we're at the point where we can data drop updates to those engines on the fly, and our that XML content is now part of a larger content catalog that's available through Amazon CDN, available everywhere in the world.